All right, Mr. D, let's talk a little bit about fruit and nut pollinators. So you want to start with that?
Okay, just very, very important to protect them because you know, we depend on you know, most of the food we eat depends upon you know, good pollination, and it's very important if you're using pesticides to you know, the ones that you have to use during blooming times, do it at night even. No. You know, do it very, very late in the day or at night when the pollinators aren't going to be out there. And but just recognize honeybees are super important. Fruits when they're blooming, even the home orchard spray guides will tell you do not use an insecticide when they're blooming. Mm-hmm. You know, wait until all the petals are falling off before you add insecticide to your home orchard spray mix. Right. It is important to go ahead and spray during those times if you're trying to prevent fungal diseases like brown rot and some of the rots that apples get. But make sure the sprays that you apply during bloom do not have any insecticide in them. The fungicides don't hurt the honeybees and other pollinating insects. And there are other pollinating insects out there, a lot of bees. I know if you have blueberries especially, you'll see some larger bumblebee type critters out there pollinating your blueberries. And that's a good thing because you know, we've had some problems with honeybees some in the past few years with syndrome of honeybee disorders, and a lot of research is being conducted on trying to take care of that. Be sure that you protect, you know, make them top of your priority list to protect the pollinators.
And that's going to be on the label too, as you mentioned from our
It will be on the label.
Spray guides.
Right, it will be on the label.
Now, how far apart, and I'll let you, you know, select, you know, which fruit you want to cover, but how far apart do you need to actually plant, you know, a fruit tree for good pollination?
Well, you know, honeybees are strong fliers.
Okay.
And if honeybees are doing the pollination, you don't have to be that close because they will find the bloom. They will go back to the hive and they will do what they call a little figure 8 dance to let the other honeybees know where the food source is, the nectar source is, and that little dance that they do not only lets the other honeybees know the direction that they need to fly when they leave the hive, but it lets them know how far they've got to go. So I guess they need to know how much gas or how much fuel they need in the tank. But it's very, very, very interesting. So you don't have to be that close with you know, plants that are, and that's why you may have a fruit tree that requires a pollinator and it has fruit every year even though you don't have a pollinator. Yeah. And your neighbor a mile away may have a tree that's the insects are pollinating that. Now, with where wind pollination is required, such as pecan trees and things like that, you've got to have them pretty close because the honeybees aren't doing the trick. The wind is actually blowing the pollen, and I know standard in commercial pecan production is every 4th tree and every 4th row has to be a pollinator. Wow. And so you know, so that's quite, you know, close. But where insects are concerned, they're going to find the bloom and they'll come to you. It's better if it's fairly close because, you know, they're spending time on this tree and then they're going to that tree, going back and forth. But fortunately, they don't go home and take a shower, you know, when they get back to the hive. So they even though it may be, you know, some time from the time they've been to a pollinator, pollination does occur.
Is it primarily bees, or is there other pollinators that kind of help out with nut and fruit production?
Honeybees are the primary pollinator, and other bees, but honeybees are just as. But on the other hand, honeybees are imported. The European honeybees are imported to the United States, and so pollination was going on before then. Right. But it's primarily bees, but honeybees now are what we count on.
Yeah, which is why we got to protect those honeybees, right? Because we depend on them, pretty much for life, you know, to eat, especially out west. You know, we talk about the nuts, you know, almonds. You know, you hear that on the news all the time about how important honeybees are to the almond production.
Right. Well, all the fruits that I'm aware of, you know, pecan is the only one that I know is wind pollinated. But I mean, fruits and you know, everything depends upon pollination. As a boy, my uncle had an orchard up in the northern part of Dyer County, and he had peaches and apples, and you know, I'm talking about in the '60s, and he had honeybees out there. You know, we've known since we've been in the business that we need those pollinators, and they give us honey too.
Right, which is some good stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
really
appreciate that, Mr. D. Thank you much.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. To find out more information on this topic, just click on the familyplotgarden.com link in the description.